Those who do not remember their history are condemned to repeat it. I know that you've heard these words. Most of us have heard these words. Many different people have spoken these words. They were first attributed to George Santayana. I believe that's how you pronounce it. Jorge Santayana. He's got one of those long 5 or 6 names. But in English, George Santayana. He was a Spanish philosopher. He was a novelist. I believe he was a professor. Spent most of his life here in the United States. I digress. That's all unimportant. What is important is that he is the one who was originally attributed to have said, "Those who do not remember the past are condemned to repeat it." This is the path that we are on. This is the slow burn to civil war, to outright distress among people in our own country, people against people, in many, many, many facets. You've heard other YouTubers, my friends Guns Coast to Coast and Zombie Farmer mention balkanization. That is sort of the model of how this thing is likely going to go, how we're seeing it go. Now, not knowing our history and thusly being doomed or condemned to repeat it. What we've got happening right now, and this is how this is all going to break down. This is how they're going to, the elitists, those that are in charge, those that control the money, the media, you, me, the food and water, the fuel, the gas, energy. This is how they're going to achieve their goal, and they're achieving it now. They are working these steps. They are doing away with our history. They are taking away history that is uncomfortable for a few people, or at least that they claim, these few people, that they're uncomfortable because of these histories, and they're just taking them away. You know, I recall when I was a school-aged child, which was a lot of years ago, that history was taught. And I'm not saying that I got even the full truth of history, you know, but what I do know, but because I just don't know. I mean, you know, I have come to find out that there are some things that were left out of history books even when I was a child in school. But at the very least, we were taught about evil men in our country and in others who did evil things. We were taught about wrong decisions that were made that affected vast populations or a vast populace within a country. We were taught about the wrongs that were done, and then we were also taught about rights that were done, things that were done to correct things, to make things better, to give better lives to human beings, Americans and otherwise across the world. And where we are now today, what we're doing, what society is doing, what again the rulers are doing purposefully, is removing things that make people uncomfortable, things in the past that make things uncomfortable, things that have institutions or histories, you know, stories told that make people uncomfortable. Now we don't have to hear them anymore. We don't have to look at the statues anymore. We don't have to see Pepe Le Pew anymore, you know, because he brought rape culture back in the 40s and 50s when he first came out, whenever that was, and beyond. We don't have to be exposed anymore to these things that add to this uninclusive culture, you know, that add to racism and white supremacy and you know, xenophobia and all these words, a lot of them that you really probably didn't even hear until the last couple of years, you know, that are and you know, your cancel culture as it's called, and many argue that's not a real thing, but that is a real thing. That's really what's going on. So if we cancel enough things, if we do away and disband with enough uncomfortable history, then we can all live in this utopia. I watched, and of course, that's a big crock, and smart people know that. You guys know that, okay? I know that, and I'm not even all that smart. So, my wife and I watched a movie this past weekend, It wasn't great, but Fahrenheit 451 was what it was called. I mean, it was okay. I liked the story. I don't think it had enough budget behind it to make it a very well-made movie. But I digress on that. You can judge that for yourself if you look at it. But the premise was that imagine today, right now, that the powers that be, the elite, those that control, those that rule, decided, okay, there's so much clashing, so much clashing of ideas, ideology, political affiliation, racial stuff, sexual orientation, blah, 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 blah. All of these things that have us all, and we are like that. As a country, we are like that. We're all at each other. There's the othering, as I've said many times, I've mentioned many times. We're all othered. We're all a part of an other group when it comes to everybody else, So it got so bad in this movie, the premise is it got so bad that those in power decided, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do away with all media, print, television, audio, and otherwise. We're doing away with music. We're doing away with film. Doing away with all of it. And then we're going to teach the one doctrine, the one way that needs to be taught. And over the next rest of our lives in this movie, we're going to seek out and destroy anything that is not that. Anything that is not the line that we're all supposed to toe. And then and only then will we have utopia. So in this movie, this group, they're firefighters actually, and they're firemen, I should say, because they don't fight fires anymore. They actually cause fires. They go and they burn things. When they find this contraband, books, movies, like I say, etc. Because nobody needs to remember the past, right? Because if we remember the past, we all get real uncomfortable. That's the premise in the movie. I see that happening. I see that that's the path we're on. Now, maybe, it's not going to play out like the movie necessarily, but who knows, though? I mean, it will play out in a similar way in that we will no longer, or our children anyway, and our children's children, if we're not careful, if we aren't diligent, you and me are not diligent, now our children and our children's children and so on will know less and less and less about the world that we live in and about how things work and why we are where we are today. And more importantly, they're going to miss out on these things that are happening now that are destroying what was a wonderfully perfect country, okay? Perfect. I'm going to throw perfect out of that. A wonderfully designed country that worked very well. Perfect? No, I suppose not. But better than any in better than any in the world, hands down. They are not even going to understand unless we can tell them and pass it on, because you're not going to be able to look it up anymore. They're controlling the information. They're going to continue to clamp down on the control of the information. This is what is going to lead, in my opinion, to the fighting. Because you're going to have people who do know the truth and are going to hang on to the truth and teach the truth, and those people will be outed. They're already being outed. They're already talking about re-education for Trump supporters, just as one idea. But it's not just about Trump supporters, as you probably already know by now. It's about wrong think, wrong think and right think, or let's say group think, because we all have to be thinking and believing the same thing if we expect to live harmoniously in this utopia. And that's not happening, folks. You guys know this. That's not happening. We're not going to let this happen. We cannot let this happen. But this is, unfortunately, what is going to bring about fighting. Real fighting, fist to cuff and otherwise, is coming. A breakdown of this is coming. A breakdown of society is coming based on this. And the elite, those that are in control, are going to do everything they can to, I believe, to perpetuate that, so that they can go ahead and bring it on and wipe out half or more of the population and control the other half. Because it's going to be so bad that they're going to have to take the reins for our own good, because we're just a bunch of dumb citizens who don't know any better, right? At least that's what they would like us to think. Drop you there. That's what they would like us to think, and that's what they would, that's what they're trying to sell. So just a little food for thought today. Think about that. When we cannot remember our history, we are condemned to repeat it. And here we go, ladies and gentlemen. History is going to repeat itself, and ugliness will rise. People will hurt each other. People will kill each other over nothing more than ideology. Let's pray. Let's just continue to pray that God have mercy on our souls, that God have mercy on this land, and that God blesses our lives individually and gives us the right path and gives us the tools that we need to be effective Christians and effective human beings, effective citizens, effective people. I am the Real World Prepper. Thank you for listening. Talk to you soon.